Well, good morning again. We're right back here after our little commercial break. The program is Viewpoint. Politicians, personalities, and perspectives are usually on the agenda. Well, I guess really we have all three. Paul's kind of he's not really deeply involved in politics, but he's
he was on the county board, weren't you, Paul?
Yeah,
sure you were.
So he was there.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
At the basic grassroots level, which is about as good as it gets as far as politics is concerned. You can do a heck of a lot more there than up the line somewhere. So we're glad to have Paul Beaver with us. Glad to have the co-host and really important part of the Viewpoint program to my right, Mrs. Busby, who was about ready to propound a question to Paul, and I've forgotten what she... Yes, my dear.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Well, that's what I'm trying.
Oofta. Paul, can we just get back a minute to this train, please, and thank you. When they would slow to 3 miles an hour in the towns along the way, what was this car actually like, the car that bore the casket? Was it such that people could see the casket? Was it just as it would drive by?
Yes, I believe you could see the casket in there. I think they had some candles or something, which would have been pretty dangerous.
Well, I wouldn't. I think if it had been my call, I'd have not called for
and they
candles.
maybe only lit them going through a town, too, because, see, when they came through Atlanta, it was just barely daylight, and they got to Lincoln, and just...
I suppose they had to have some light then.
Right, this is early May, so that you could see that. As I understood it, you could see the casket in there.
What was the time that was taken by the trek across the country?
Oh, boy.
How many days was it?
It came to here through in May.
I know Whitman wrote that poem about it, Night and Day Journeys of Coffin, but I can't remember with all the stops and everything.
Yes.
What it was, a couple of, well, let's see. He died on the 7/22, the morning of April 15th morning. And the funeral train came through here, Atlanta and Lincoln. I'm sure it was May, let's see.
Well, in the meantime...
May 3rd, on the morning of May 3rd, early on it came through.
A couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what the state of the art of funerary practice was. That they could.
They had to read Chalky's face a lot when they viewed the body in Chicago and Annapolis and finally in Springfield. Thousands of people went through down at the State House, which is today rebuilt, and there was a huge crowd. People from all over Logan County went down and got in their wagons and went down to the service. I mean, it's amazing when you think that when from Lincoln they talk about being a politician. He's an excellent politician, by the way, and to have this outpouring is just unbelievable. I mean, just...
I stopped thinking about it, Paul.
To go to that funeral might be something.
You came from out Lucas Chapel area, and coming to Lincoln way back, that's a pretty good deal. I remember riding in my grandfather's Model T, so, and prior to that was a horse and wagon, and that was a big trip to come
9 miles.
Yeah, and sometimes the weather wasn't the greatest.
So that'd be
pretty interesting.
Well, horse travel about 5 miles an hour, so at least almost 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was talking about the plot that was hatched then ultimately to steal the body. Mm-hmm. Now, the way it was being addressed, I thought they were talking about Springfield, and I had always understood that it was right here on Pulaski Street, right across the alley from the Vintage Fair.
Mm-hmm. Well, Les always thought so, and Les Sheridan always thought that his uncle was the informant. But unfortunately, when Crogwell did his work on the plot to steal the body, the Sheridan involved was kind of part of the plot.
So you didn't the Fisher-Fowl thing there.
And but there were a group of them in Logan County, and they did meet there at that tavern, and they talked about it. But however, they got themselves down to Springfield and told several of the ladies of the evening about their plans, who then told the police, and that took care of the Logan County plot right there. But the Chicago bunch, that the kidnapper who was really in charge of it, he got some real thugs involved there, and of course they did come down and did move the broke into the tomb, and I think the casket, they moved it out just a little bit, but the police were onto it. They'd been informed, and they were all around there, and I think they moved too quickly, and some of them got away. Actually, the ironic thing was there wasn't a law for stealing a body, because a lot of medical schools needed bodies in those days for
Yes,
research.
they did. Well,
so they didn't have a law, but
that's
they
right.
did have it for damaging public property.
Although Illinois College in Jacksonville had a medical school when they first began. And that kind of came to an abrupt end because of the very reason you're talking about. But that was all you could do, because
right.
it was just not heard of that anyone would donate to science, you know.
No, and then I think the police and authorities knew about it, but also knew that if they wanted to find something to help their son or daughter or grandmother or whatever, you better maybe turn a blind eye and let them find out what they could from the cadavers. But Lincoln's body, they may moved it, and that's when Robert decided, we're going to have the tomb, and it's going to be buried under, 16 feet of concrete, something like that. And
16 feet?
I don't know. It's an enormous amount of concrete. I don't remember what the figure is, but that's when they were all buried there then, and all but Robert, and he's buried in Washington. But the others were. We're not going to have this again, Robert thought. We're not going to have grave robbers, and their plot was really kind of a goofy plot. They were going to get the body, and the original Logan County guys were going to hide it either in the bear cave or what was a predecessor to the bear cave south of town. Bill, you know what I mean? And I think that's what they used to call it. Or they were going to hide it in Chestnut someplace. Well, that all fell through, and these people were going to hide it, and then they were going to trade the body for the release of their counterfeiter who was up here in Joliet. In those days, counterfeiting was really very bad in the 1870s. That's the Secret Service, as you know, that now guards the president, was formed to get counterfeiters. And it was really bad. They couldn't check on it. They didn't have the kind of paper and things they could do it then.
Well, and they didn't have magic markers to write on the bills.
And that counterfeiter, they said, was the best there was. And if they could get him out, they made a lot of money. So they were going to trade Lincoln's body
For him.
And
Paul, was there a message that you wanted to kind of a thread that you might want to leave? We're not done yet, but I don't want to bypass any time that you might want, because the fact that you wanted to discuss this particular subject matter, was there a particular approach that you wanted to take on that?
I'm sorry,
on the subject matter of the day, because you asked us for some time to talk about this, and I wanted to make sure we covered anything that you wanted to cover.
I think that it kind of comes, the day of Lincoln's assassination comes and goes, and there was a time 100 years ago still when that was still a major event.
Observation.
And I think with the train, which I tried to get some more information, and it's 2 years away, so we'll have, when we get some real good stuff, I'll get Keller to come up and we'll find out all the details on the train. But I know, other than the fact that I know it's going to be done, I think that's going to be an incredible, if you think about that, it's going to leave Washington, it's going to travel through the whole country on tracks where all these freights and 110-mile-an-hour trains travel, and it's going to recreate the whole funeral.
The logistics of that absolutely blows my mind.
Me too. I don't know how they're
I mean,
gonna
what
do
if you got a lumberyard and you're expecting a car of sheetrock? I guess you just wait, huh?
And that engine, I don't know what top speed on those trains were in the Lincoln
Not
days.
much.
35 to 55, maybe. I-50 would have to probably do it.
But we're recreating, I did not know this until this morning, we're recreating the cars of that era,
Right.
rebuilding,
Right.
oh, that's interesting.
Where are they doing this construction job?
Well, kind of all over, I think. I was trying to remember, I couldn't find it this morning where the train was being built. I'm sorry I couldn't find that, or where the engine was being built. But that to me is a massive job. Now, I'm sure the internal workings we'll see the external engine. But I bet you the internal will have the good steel.
Oh, yeah,
This
there's
is
no question about
all those
that.
things, because it would break down too much, and they can't have that. Once this starts, they're going to have to stick on that schedule. They're going to, because you can't tie up the railroads. Well, how many trains do we have in out of Lincoln? In the 6, 7, 8, I don't know.
Oh, in a day? Yes.
In a day.
Oh,
How many do we have
several.
at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Uh-huh.
When the funeral train was in Lincoln, it was 7 o'clock.
Well, and
That's our-
that's the time for the train that goes north.
Running train. Now, I'm sure what they'll do is that they'll just simply take it off on sidings just like they would any of the others. And it's going to be a national event. It's going to be covered by all the news and everybody out there. And I think it's important that we think about it in Logan County, because here we've got the first town and all of those things. And we need to make a good show.
Now, when it ultimately gets to Springfield, are they going to replay the whole ceremony as well?
Well, I think that's under discussion now, too, what to do.
Well, I mean, if that's your
could do it.
destination, you
They
got to
can
have
do
a
it.
plan.
Because the train's going to come right in, and you've got the building right there, exactly
Well, let's
where
see,
the
is
funeral
that-
was held, the old
Isn't
state
that the
capitol.
building that Carolyn Oxtoby is, they're refurbishing that old depot? Am I
Well,
correct
that's the
in
other
that?
one. Now, that's the depot where he left to go to Washington.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay.
But what I'm saying is, as far as the old state capitol, that's where his body was, placed, and that's where these huge crowds came
Okay.
through. And I would think you'll have those. The Lincoln movie added a lot of interest.
Oh, no doubt. Lots and lots of people saw that, and it was very well received.
But I don't.
People who'd really not had the interest, certainly that you have,
Right.
in Abraham Lincoln.
Incidentally, it brings to mind a reenactment, and they do that down there at Oak Ridge Cemetery at the Lincoln
Right.
tomb during the summer months. I don't know how long it goes on. I went down there several years, 2 or 3 years ago, to watch that, the retirement of the colors and so forth. That's a very, very impressive, and I'd like to commend the idea of people going down there and attending that. It's really a neat ceremony. Go down there and take a blanket or take a chair and sit on it and watch that take place. I can't tell you the details right now, but it's
Well, it's
something to look up.
Right. Well, I think we have a real good chance here to make our mark, because we're the national news is going to want to cover this. Lincoln's hometown, and if we have the people out and we have the arch over the tracks, none of this is a real expensive proposition. That's what the people will like to hear. I'm sure Evergreen Arch costs very much, and if we have the people there and then have them south of the tracks, I'm going to try to take that on to promote that, not just get some of our family to do it, but to get some of the farm families to come in and drive in there. That would make it, I know that the press likes that sort of thing, and the cameramen like that. Out of Lincoln's hometown, and here are some of the descendants still there. And then when it hits Springfield, of course, it will take a little of their thunder away, which doesn't
If you're
bother
going to be
the
involved in
slightest.
that, Paul, I'd like to put a bid in now for a spot for my wheelchair so I can
Yeah.
so I can see it.
Oh, no, you'll
up
be out
front.
there. How about driving a wagon? You could do that.
Which reminds me way back when Ford, was coming through here and stopped. And we had a lady, a deceased lady now, unfortunately, a very nice lady, Helen Heiserman. And she was equipped to donate generously. And so she was a good contributor to the Republican Party. And so she wanted to get down close. So I said, Helen, I'll come get you, and we'll get you up real, come early and we'll get you real close. And I did. I had her up there, and I had a little folding chair for us. Yeah. One but a little bit. Guy came around and had a bug in his ear.
Yeah.
He said, "Sir, you're going to have to move." I said, "Oh." I said, "I got permission from," I forgot now, this lady's a heavy contributor to the party. And he says, "Well," he said, "that doesn't make much difference to the Secret Service. I'm going to ask you to move."
Oh.
So that took care of that, and we moved.
I can remember that. And there were Secret Service people all on the store.
Yes. I
Tops.
have pictures of that.
Well, yeah, that was very interesting.
Well, of course, I remember that very well because that summer, it was in July, and I got a phone call, and I said, "There's a gentleman who wants to meet you down at the old Hotel Lincoln." In college, I had that a lot different. So I went down and introduced himself, and he never smiled once, and he was the Secret Service agent. And he said to me, "Congressman Madigan said that you'll do this for us."
And that took care of that.
And I said, "Well, what are we talking about?" And he said, "Well, he said you'll take care of setting up Ford's visit." I mean, they never smiled the whole time. And then he went to, and this is serious, he went to a long list of people, of which all the three of us know, of Lincoln people, and went through it, and he
Checking them out.
and he had me look at, and I said, "Well, am I supposed to be the chairman of this?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, my name's not on there." He said, "Oh, we checked you out a month ago." And I found Judy. You work at the hospital. They went through my records, hospital and medical records.
Is that right?
Now, I didn't know those, but I guess once Ed told them that I would be the chairman, then it's fair game. Now, he hadn't told me, but it was interesting. I don't think I'd ever do it again, but I learned a lot. I sat and talked to one of the secrets, and they said they work like a week on, 2 weeks off. I just can't take he said, "Just think of one little thing." They tell us this first day. The same motion to shake hands with the president's the same one's got the gun in it. And I never forgot that.
Well, you think about that in relationship to the numerous trips taken out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, all over hell and back.
Yeah.
And think what's cost you and I every day, every day. Paul Beaver, we appreciate your being with us this morning. It's great to have a Logan County native have such an avowed interest in the history of our country. And down through the years, he's passed that on to a lot of students at Lincoln College. And we appreciate your being with us. As you know, we always try to close with some sort of little saying that came, particularly now this came from old Abe Lincoln himself. And I thought, in view of the fact that we rushed to the polls in huge numbers yesterday, about 13%. Nice going, Logan County.
We had that one.
Well, it's better than the 2% from the one before.
Anyway, old Abe said the ballot is stronger than the bullet. I wish you folks would remember that out there. Thank you for Viewpoint.